stop. Before you send that long message, before you explain your feelings one more time, before you try to find the perfect sentence that will finally make her understand you, pause. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Not because you are trying to punish her, not because you are playing some childish game, not because you want to manipulate her emotions or make her suffer, but because silence does something words cannot do. Words can explain. Silence makes someone feel. Words can defend your value. Silence allows your value to be experienced. Words can ask for attention. Silence reveals whether that attention was ever freely given, and this is where most people get it wrong. They think if they stop talking, they will be forgotten. They think if they stop reaching out, she will move on. They think if they don't keep proving how much they care, she will assume they never cared at all. But the opposite often happens. When you have been emotionally available, consistent, warm, responsive, and present, your silence does not disappear quietly. It leaves an echo. She notices the missing message. She notices the space where your energy used to be. She notices that the person who once leaned in is no longer leaning quite so hard. And that shift creates tension, not the unhealthy kind, not drama, not chaos, a different kind of tension, the kind that makes someone pause and think, wait. That is the psychology of silence. It is not about making her obsessed by becoming cold. It is about understanding that over-talking can drain attraction, while grounded silence can restore respect, curiosity, and emotional balance. Quick note before we go deeper. This is for fundamentally healthy situations where there is basic respect. If someone is manipulating you, mistreating you, insulting you, disappearing for days to control you, or making you feel unsafe, silence is not a strategy. That is a sign to protect yourself, seek support, and step away from the dynamic. What we are talking about here is self-respect, emotional discipline, and healthy boundaries. Because real silence is not revenge. Real silence is restraint, and that decision changes everything. The surface level truth is simple. Silence gets attention because it breaks a pattern. If you are always the one texting first, always the one checking in, always the one smoothing things over, always the one trying to keep the emotional bridge from collapsing, then your presence becomes predictable. Predictable does not mean bad. Consistency is beautiful in a healthy relationship, but when consistency becomes emotional overfunctioning, when you become the one doing all the reaching, all the explaining, all the repairing, something shifts. Your effort stops feeling like a gift. It starts feeling like a guarantee. And once someone experiences your attention as guaranteed, they may stop noticing the cost of it. Think about it this way. When your phone is always in your hand, you do not think about the miracle of connection. You just expect it to work. But the moment the signal drops, suddenly you notice. Suddenly you look at the screen. Suddenly you wonder what happened. Human attention works the same way. When your emotional signal is always available, always strong, always immediate, she may not consciously appreciate it. But when that signal quiets down, her mind starts looking for it. Where did he go? Why is he not responding the way he used to? Is he upset? Did something change? Is he pulling away? And the most important question of all, did I take him for granted? That question is where silence becomes more powerful than words. Because you cannot force someone to reflect by explaining. In fact, the more you explain, the less they often reflect. They listen to respond. They defend. They minimize. They get overwhelmed. They feel pressured. But silence removes the pressure. It creates space. And inside that space, their own mind starts doing the work your words could never do. This is why silence can be so magnetic. It allows someone to experience your absence without you having to announce it. But here is the difference that matters. Silence only works when it comes from self-control, not insecurity. If you go silent while secretly staring at your phone every 5 seconds, hoping she panics, hoping she chases, hoping she proves something to you, then you are not in power. You are just anxious in a quieter way. That kind of silence will eat you alive. Real silence is different. That is emotional authority. And emotional authority is deeply attractive, not because it dominates, but because it is grounded. Most people are used to reactions. They are used to someone getting upset, sending paragraphs, demanding answers, asking where things stand, trying to pull clarity out of uncertainty. So when you do not react that way, when you pause, breathe, and step back without drama, it interrupts the expected pattern. That interruption makes you different. Not loud different. Not flashy different. Quietly different. And quiet confidence has a weight that noise will never have. Now let's talk about the first layer. Silence restores your emotional authority. Emotional authority means you are no longer letting another person's attention control your nervous system. When she texts, you feel good. When she takes hours to reply, you spiral. When she is warm, you relax. When she is distant, you panic. When she gives you a little attention, you come alive. When she pulls back, you start questioning your entire worth. That is not love. That is emotional dependency. And many people fall into it without realizing. It starts innocently. You like her. You want things to go well. You enjoy the connection. You want to be available. So you respond quickly. You show interest. You make effort. Nothing wrong with that. But then you notice a slight imbalance. You are thinking about her more than she seems to be thinking about you. You are initiating more. You are analyzing tone. You are waiting for replies. You are replaying conversations. You are trying to be interesting, impressive, funny, understanding, patient, and emotionally perfect all at once. And slowly, without meaning to, you hand her the remote control to your emotional state. Silence is how you take it back. Not by ignoring her to hurt her. Not by acting unavailable when you are actually desperate. But by creating a pause between impulse and action. That pause is everything. When you feel the urge to text, you wait. When you want to explain, you breathe. When you want to ask, "Are we okay?" After one slightly dry reply, you do not immediately turn your anxiety into a message. You let your emotions move through you before you make them someone else's responsibility. This is powerful because attraction does not grow in panic. Connection does not deepen when one person feels like they have to constantly reassure the other. Respect does not build when your entire mood is visibly dependent on whether someone chooses you today. But when you become calm, measured, and emotionally self-led, something changes. You stop feeling like someone who needs to be managed. You start feeling like someone who has a life, a center, a spine. Imagine this. You send her a message. She replies late, a little shorter than usual. The old version of you might instantly wonder what went wrong. You might send another message to fix the energy. You might overcompensate with humor. You might ask if she is okay. You might start performing for reassurance. But the grounded version of you does something different. You notice the feeling. You do not shame yourself for it. Then you put your phone down, you go for a walk, you finish your work, you make food, you call a friend, you continue living. If she comes back warmly, great. You respond from calm. If she stays distant, also great. You have information. That is the kind of silence that creates respect. Because you are no longer begging the moment to change. You are allowing the moment to reveal itself. Here is a practical way to start. When you feel the urge to send a message that comes from fear, not clarity, open your Notes app first. Write the message there. Write all of it. The long version. The emotional version. Then wait 20 minutes. If it is truth, you can communicate it later with calm and dignity. If it is reassurance seeking, keep it in the Notes app. That simple gap protects your self-respect. It teaches your nervous system that every feeling does not require immediate action. And when you develop that kind of control, your energy changes. People can feel it. She can feel it. You can feel it. You become less frantic, less available to chaos, less eager to audition for a role you should not have to beg for. This brings us to the second layer. Silence creates space for curiosity. Curiosity is one of the most underrated forces in attraction. When someone knows exactly where they stand with you at every second, when they know you will always reply, always explain, always chase, always return, There is very little room for curiosity. They may like you, they may enjoy you, but they are not wondering about you. And wondering matters, not in a toxic way, not in a make them insecure way, but in a natural human way. We are drawn to what has depth. We lean toward what we cannot fully predict. We think about what remains slightly unresolved. Silence creates that unresolved space. When you step back from constant communication, you allow her to wonder. Not because you are trying to confuse her, but because you are no longer oversupplying your presence. There is a difference between being clear and being overexposed. Clarity says, I am interested. I enjoy you. Clarity is attractive. Overexposure can become heavy. Many people accidentally talk the mystery out of themselves. They explain every intention. They reveal every fear. They confess too much too soon. They try to build intimacy by flooding the other person with access. But intimacy is not built by emotional flooding. It is built by trust, pacing, presence, and mutual effort. Silence helps restore pacing. That is not cold. That is wise. Picture two different people in the same situation. Person A likes someone and feels the connection getting uncertain, so they start texting more. They send good morning messages, then check-ins, then jokes, then emotional comments. When the replies get shorter, they try harder. They become more available, more expressive, more eager. Person B also likes someone and notices the same uncertainty, but instead of chasing the shift, they slow down. They remain kind, but they stop overextending. They do not punish. They do not act bitter. They simply match the level of investment they are receiving. Which person creates more curiosity? Person B, because person B communicates something without saying it. I am interested, but I am not desperate. That creates a different emotional experience. Now the other person has to lean in a little if they want closeness. They have to participate. They have to wonder what your inner world looks like when it is not constantly being handed to them. That wondering can become magnetic. But again, it must be clean. Do not disappear for 3 days just to create panic. Do not intentionally withhold warmth from someone who has been kind and consistent with you. Do not turn silence into a weapon and then call it confidence. Healthy silence is proportional. If she is respectful but busy, you do not punish her. You simply give space. If she is inconsistent, you stop overcompensating. If she is pulling away, you do not chase the distance. You observe it. If she is genuinely interested, your silence gives her room to show it. Here is a concrete step. Stop sending filler messages. A filler message is anything you send only because you are uncomfortable with space. Haha, yeah. What are you doing? You there? Guess you're busy. Okay then. These messages are usually not communication. They are anxiety looking for a place to land. Instead, let the conversation breathe. If there is nothing meaningful to say, say nothing. Let the last message stand. Let her respond when she responds. Let yourself be a person with rhythm, not a notification machine. This will feel uncomfortable at first because your brain may interpret silence as danger. But space is not always danger. Sometimes space is where attraction catches its breath. Now here is where this gets even deeper. Silence interrupts the chase dynamic. The chase dynamic happens when one person pulls back and the other person moves forward to close the gap. She becomes distant, so you become more attentive. She becomes uncertain, so you become more convincing. She gives less, so you give more. And the painful part is that your extra effort often feels noble to you. You think, I'm showing her I care. I'm proving I won't leave. I'm being patient. But if the dynamic is imbalanced, your effort may not read as devotion. It may read as availability without standards. That is hard to hear, but it can set you free, because the chase only continues when you keep running. Silence stops the chase. It does not demand that she come closer. It simply stops rewarding distance with more pursuit. This is crucial because in many dating dynamics, people do not consciously realize they are training each other. If someone pulls away, and you respond by becoming more invested, they learn that distance gives them more control. If someone gives minimal effort, and you respond with maximum effort, they learn that minimal effort is enough. If someone creates uncertainty and you respond by proving yourself harder, they learn that your insecurity will do the work for them. Silence breaks that training, and that is when the dynamic has a chance to reset. Imagine you have been talking to someone for a while. Things started strong. She was engaged, curious, playful. Then suddenly, the energy changed. She still responds, but slower. She still seems interested, but less present. She still keeps the door open, but she is no longer walking through it. The old instinct is to ask, "What happened?" And sometimes, direct communication is appropriate. But if you have already communicated clearly, if you have already shown interest, if you have already made effort, then another explanation may not help. The most powerful move may be to stop filling the gap. Let the gap exist, not forever, not with resentment, just long enough to see whether she cares enough to close some of it herself. Because mutual interest does not require one person to carry the entire bridge. If she values the connection, she will feel the shift. She may reach out. She may ask how you are. She may become warmer. She may realize she has been passive. She may start investing again. And if she does not, then your silence still served you. It gave you the truth. This is why silence is so important. It reveals what words often hide. You can ask someone if they care, and they can say yes. You can ask if they are interested, and they can say yes. You can ask where things are going, and they can give you just enough hope to keep you around. But when you stop pushing the connection forward, you see whether it moves at all. That is information, and information is power. A practical step here: match energy without becoming petty. Matching energy does not mean becoming cold because she was slow to reply. It means you stop giving relationship-level investment to someone offering casual-level effort. If she takes a day to reply and gives one sentence, you do not respond with 3 paragraphs and immediate warmth as if nothing happened. You respond politely, calmly, and proportionally. If she wants more depth, she can bring more depth. If she never initiates plans, you stop being the only planner. You might invite once, clearly. If she does not engage, you step back and let her show whether she wants to be part of the connection. If she keeps things vague, you do not keep negotiating with vagueness. You become clear once. Then you observe. This is not about ego. It is about alignment. Your effort should go where it is met, not where it is constantly missing. And when you live that way, your silence becomes a standard. Not a punishment. A standard. Now let's go into the 4th layer. Silence reveals real interest. This is the part many people are afraid of, because deep down, they know silence might show them something they do not want to see. It might show them that the connection was mostly being held together by their effort. It might show them that the other person liked the attention more than the person giving it. It might show them that what they called chemistry was actually inconsistency mixed with hope. That can hurt, but it is a cleaner hurt than staying trapped in confusion. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from trying to keep someone interested. You are always adjusting, always reading the room, always trying to be enough but not too much, available but not needy, caring but not intense, funny but not performative, patient but not passive. It becomes a full-time job. And love should not require you to become a full-time emotional strategist. Silence simplifies things. When you stop over-functioning, the connection has to stand on its own legs. If it has legs, it will stand. If it does not, it will fall. And as painful as that can be, it is also freeing. Because now you are no longer stuck guessing. You are no longer trying to decode crumbs. You are no longer building a fantasy out of occasional warmth. You are watching behavior. Behavior is clearer than words. If she misses your presence, she will find a way to reconnect. If she values your energy, she will notice when it is gone. If she respects you, she will not only return when she wants attention, she will show care for how the distance affected you. But if she only comes back when she senses you slipping away, then disappears once she feels secure again, pay attention. That is not obsession. That is control maintenance. There is a difference between someone realizing your value and someone wanting to keep access to your attention. Someone who realizes your value becomes more consistent. Someone who only wants access becomes temporarily intense. This distinction matters because silence can draw people back, yes, but not everyone who comes back is coming back with depth. Some come back because their ego noticed the absence. Some come back because they liked being wanted. Some come back because your silence interrupted their sense of control. And some come back because they genuinely miss you, respect you, and now understand what they were risking. Your job is not to celebrate every return. Your job is to observe the quality of the return. Does she communicate more clearly? Does she show accountability? Does she ask about you, not just seek reassurance from you? Does she make effort beyond words? Does she become more present after reconnecting? Or does she disappear again, once she knows you are still available? Silence reveals interest, but consistency reveals character. Please remember that. A practical step: when she reaches out after a period of silence, do not immediately flood back in. Stay warm, but stay grounded. You do not need to punish her. You also do not need to throw open every door just because she knocked. If she says, "Hey, haven't heard from you," you might respond, "Yeah, I've been taking some space and focusing on myself." Calm, clear, no bitterness. If she asks what happened, and the connection deserves honesty, you can say, "I felt like the energy had become one-sided, so I stepped back." That sentence carries more power than 1,000 emotional explanations. It names the truth without begging for repair. And that is what grounded silence does. It prepares you to speak from dignity when words become necessary. Now we have to talk about the most important layer of all. Silence gives you back to yourself. Because the title says silence makes her obsessed, but the real transformation is not about her obsession. It is about your freedom. The strongest version of you is not the version who learns exactly how to make someone miss you. The strongest version of you is the one who longer needs to be missed in order to feel valuable. Read that again in your mind. You do not need someone's longing to prove your worth. You do not need her regret to confirm that you mattered. You do not need her obsession to make your silence meaningful. Your silence is meaningful because it marks the moment you stopped abandoning yourself. That is the real power. When you are constantly talking, explaining, chasing, checking, and proving, your attention is living outside your body. It is living in her reactions, her replies, her tone, her availability, her choices. Silence brings your attention home. Suddenly, you notice your own life again. You notice how tired you have been. You notice how much energy you spent trying to be chosen. You notice the friends you have not called, the work you have neglected, the gym you stopped going to, the hobbies you quietly put down, the goals that lost oxygen, because all your emotional air was going into one uncertain connection. And slowly, you begin to return. You start waking up without checking your phone first. You start making plans that are not secretly designed around whether she might be available. You start dressing well for yourself, not because you hope she sees it. You start laughing again without needing to screenshot the moment. You start remembering that you had a whole identity before this person became the center of your attention. That is when your energy becomes magnetic in a completely different way. Not because you are trying to be mysterious, because you are actually full again. People can feel when you are living from fullness instead of hunger. Hunger grasps. Fullness allows. Hunger over-explains. Fullness communicates clearly, and then lets reality answer. This is why silence can make someone more drawn to you. Not because silence itself is magic, but because of who you become inside it. You become less reactive. You become less predictable in the sense that you are no longer predictably desperate. You become calmer, more selective, more rooted. You stop treating one person's attention like oxygen. And when someone senses that you can walk away with love still, in your heart and dignity still in your hands, they feel the weight of you differently. Because now your presence is no longer guaranteed. It is chosen. And chosen presence is far more valuable than desperate presence. Here is a practical reset you can use this week. For 7 days, do not build your day around her communication. That does not mean ignore her. It means your life comes first. Before checking your messages in the morning, do one thing that belongs to you. Drink water, stretch, make coffee, step outside, write 3 lines in a notebook. Then choose 3 anchors for the week. 1 physical anchor, a workout, a walk, a sport, anything that gets you into your body. 1 social anchor, time with a friend, a family member, someone who reminds you that connection exists outside romantic uncertainty. 1 growth anchor, a book, a skill, a project, a task you have been avoiding. Put them in your calendar, not as distractions, as evidence. Evidence that your life is not waiting in her inbox. This is how silence becomes healing, instead of performance. Because if your silence is empty, you will fill it with obsession. But if your silence is structured, you will fill it with yourself. And that changes the emotional equation completely. Now, let's make an important distinction. Silence is not the same as emotional immaturity. Some people hear advice like this and use it as permission to disappear, withhold, punish, or act superior. That is not strength. That is avoidance wearing a nice jacket. Healthy silence has boundaries. It has purpose. It has self-respect. It does not seek to confuse someone who has treated you well. If you are upset and the relationship is healthy, communicate. If there has been a misunderstanding, clarify. If someone is trying to repair, listen. That is mature silence. Immature silence says nothing and hopes the other person suffers enough to figure it out. The difference is intention. Are you being silent to control her? Or are you being silent to control yourself? Are you trying to make her anxious? Or are you refusing to let your anxiety run the relationship? Are you disappearing to create fear? Or are you stepping back because the connection has become one-sided? Your answer matters, because the energy behind your silence will always leak through. If your silence is bitter, people feel it. If your silence is manipulative, people feel it. If your silence is peaceful, people feel that too. And peaceful silence is the one that carries power. There is nothing more disarming than someone who does not need to prove they are hurt in order to be taken seriously. There is nothing more attractive than someone who can care deeply without collapsing. There is nothing more rare than a person who can walk away from confusion without turning cold. That is the kind of person you are becoming. Not someone who plays games. Someone who has standards. Not someone who withholds love. Someone who refuses to overgive where love is not being met. Not someone who wants power over another person. Someone who has power over themselves. And that is the kind of power that changes how people experience you. Let's bring this into a real scenario. Say you have been talking to her for a few months. The chemistry is there. The conversations used to flow. She used to ask questions, send little updates, maybe even flirt in. A way that made you feel like something real was forming. Then the energy starts changing. She still responds, but not with the same presence. She says she is busy, but you see her active. She says she wants to see you, but plans never quite happen. She keeps you close enough to hope, but far enough to stay uncertain. This is the moment where most people lose themselves. They try to become more impressive. They send more messages. They make more jokes. They become more emotionally available, hoping she will remember the connection. But a grounded person does something else. They stop auditioning. They let the silence speak. They do not send angry messages. They do not post obvious things to get attention. They do not try to make her jealous. They do not beg for clarity from someone who keeps benefiting from confusion. They simply step back. And in that space, one of 2 things happens. Either she feels the absence and realizes, I have been taking this person for granted, and she comes forward with more effort, more clarity, more respect, or she lets the connection fade because it was never as mutual as you hoped. Both outcomes serve you. One gives you a better dynamic. The other gives you your freedom. That is why silence is powerful. It stops you from negotiating with uncertainty forever. But you have to be brave enough to let the truth appear. You have to resist the urge to interfere with the result. Because every time you chase, you interrupt the evidence. Every time you over-explain, you muddy the water. Every time you fill the silence too soon, you prevent yourself from seeing whether she would have reached across it. Let the silence be long enough to tell you something. Not forever, not dramatically, but long enough. And while it is doing that, live. Do not sit there waiting like your life has been paused. That is the mistake. Silence is not powerful because you are waiting harder. It is powerful because you are no longer waiting. You are choosing yourself in real time. You are allowing her to feel your absence while you rebuild your presence elsewhere. And that is the balance most people never understand. The silence that affects her most is the silence you are not obsessing over. Because when you are truly living, your energy detaches, your tone changes, your timing changes, your neediness dissolves. You become less available, not because you are pretending, but because your life is actually full. That is when she senses the difference. She may not be able to explain it. She may just feel that your attention has weight now. Your replies are calmer. Your energy is less eager. You are not rude, but you are not reaching the same way. You are not cold, but you are not open at any cost. That kind of shift creates emotional impact. Because now she is not interacting with someone who is trying to win her. She is interacting with someone who is deciding whether the connection is good enough for him too. That is a completely different frame. And it is one of the most attractive frames you can live from. Not because it makes you above anyone, because it makes you equal. You are no longer standing beneath her approval, hoping she reaches down and chooses you. You are standing in your own life, asking whether there is mutual respect, mutual effort, mutual desire, mutual care. That is healthy. That is strong. That is rare. Now, will silence always make her obsessed? No. And anyone who tells you it will is selling you fantasy. Silence will not create real love where there is no interest. It will not turn an emotionally unavailable person into a consistent partner overnight. It will not heal someone else's avoidance. It will not magically make the wrong person right. But silence will do something even more valuable. It will show you what is real. If there is genuine attraction, silence can intensify it because it creates space for longing and reflection. If there is genuine care, silence can invite the other person to step forward. If there is imbalance, silence can reveal it. If there is disrespect, silence can help you detach from it. And if there is nothing there, silence can stop you from pouring your heart into a place that cannot hold it. That is the gift, not control. Clarity. And clarity is worth more than obsession. Because obsession can be shallow. Someone can obsess over losing access to you without being ready to love you well. Someone can crave your attention without respecting your heart. Someone can miss you and still not be capable of meeting you. So do not make her obsession the goal. Make your alignment the goal. Make your peace the goal. Make mutual effort the goal. Make becoming the kind of person who does not chase confusion the goal. When you do that, silence becomes clean. It becomes a mirror. It reflects back the truth of the connection, and it reflects back the strength you forgot you had. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can survive someone's distance. There is a deep peace that comes from knowing you do not have to force anyone to value you. There is a different kind of attractiveness that appears when you stop trying to be picked and start choosing what is healthy for you. That is the version of you she cannot easily forget. Not the version who sent the longest message. Not the version who explained every feeling perfectly. Not the version who was always available, no matter how little was offered in return. The version she remembers is the one who cared, but did not collapse. The one who was warm, but not weak. The one who was open, but not endlessly accessible. The one who could walk away without hatred because self-respect was stronger than attachment. That kind of silence stays with people, because it is not empty. It is full of standards. Full of dignity, full of the message you never had to type. I know what I bring. I know how deeply I can care. That message lands, even when unspoken, especially when unspoken. So the next time you feel the urge to chase, pause. Those questions will save you. Because sometimes the message you want to send is really just your nervous system asking for relief. And you can give yourself relief without handing over your dignity. Breathe. Put the phone down. Let the moment pass. Return to your body. Return to your plans. Return to the life that existed before this uncertainty started taking up so much room. If she is meant to meet you, she will not need you to drag her across the distance. If she values you, she will feel your absence and respond with more than temporary curiosity. If she cares, her actions will eventually become clearer than her words. And if she does not, your silence will still protect you. That is the part I want you to remember. Your silence is not a trick. It is a boundary. It is not a performance. It is a return. It is not about becoming cold enough to make her obsessed. It is about becoming grounded enough that you no longer need obsession to feel chosen. Because the right connection will not require you to disappear to be valued. But when you do step back, the right person will notice with care, not just ego. They will want to understand, not simply regain control. They will meet you with honesty, not breadcrumbs. And until that kind of connection shows up, you have a responsibility to yourself. Protect your energy. Stop over-explaining your worth. Stop chasing people who are comfortable with your confusion. Stop filling every silence just because you are afraid of what the silence might reveal. Let it reveal. Let it show you who misses you, who values you, who only wanted access, and who was never really holding the connection with both hands. That truth may sting at first, but it will also set you free. And once you have felt the freedom of not begging, not chasing, not shrinking, not performing, you will never want to go back to being someone who survives on mixed signals. You will want peace. You will want reciprocity. You will want someone who does not need to lose you to recognize you. And that is when your silence becomes more than attractive. It becomes transformational. So yes, silence can make her think about you more than words ever could. It can make her replay moments. It can make her feel the absence of your warmth. It can make her wonder why the energy changed. It can make her realize that your attention was not something she could take for granted forever. But the deeper truth is this: silence makes you hear yourself again. And when you can hear yourself, you stop abandoning yourself. When you stop abandoning yourself, your energy changes. When your energy changes, the way people treat you changes. And when the way people treat you changes, you finally understand that the power was never in chasing the perfect response. The power was in becoming the kind of person who does not need to chase it all. I want you to take this with you today. The next time silence feels terrifying, do not assume it means you are losing her. Maybe it means you are finding yourself. Maybe it means the dynamic is finally being tested. Maybe it means your worth is no longer available at a discount. Maybe it means the part of you that used to beg for attention is learning how to stand still and breathe. That is growth. That is strength. That is the kind of quiet power people feel long after the conversation ends. If this shifted something in you, share in the comments what part of silence is hardest for you. The waiting, the uncertainty, the fear of being forgotten, or the urge to explain yourself one more time. Your honesty might be exactly what someone else needs to feel less alone today. And subscribe for more upcoming insights on attraction, boundaries, emotional discipline, and building the kind of relationships where you do not have to lose yourself to be loved.